Grizzlies, and welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and yes, Betty B, presentation time. Thank you so much for being here. Please, if you wouldn't mind, liking the video and sharing it wherever you want, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, to your friends on email, whatever it is. It really helps other Grizzlies know in case they missed the notification. If they're there on social media, they're like, oh my word, she's live right now, let's go. So thank you to all of you who can make it here right now. I really appreciate you. And I just quickly want to say, if you do hear like fireworks going off, the Netherlands, okay, in the Netherlands, fireworks are illegal except one time a year, and that's New Year's. But yet people get so excited that today is the 29th of December and they're getting ready. They're practicing, okay? So you might hear a bit of fireworks going off in the background here and there. Don't get a fright, okay? Or if I get a fright, you'll know why. All right, are we ready? So what I wanted to show you today, we are going to go over, I actually want to show you some footage from Candlelight Vigils that happened at Boise State University, because we haven't looked at that together before. I actually came across it yesterday. I'm like, damn, okay, so let me show you that in case you haven't seen it either, because that I hadn't really seen. And then we're going to go over Police Chief James Fry's latest interview. Now, the thing is, I have enhanced the audio for you and deleted about 150 million from the reporter, right? Because I was like, damn, there's a lot of arms happening here. So there are still some in there, but that's what I've edited out. So if you're like, this is edited, yes. The color I improved, the audio I improved, and I took out some of the arms, okay? So we're gonna Grizzly boost that thing and listen to everything that Chief James Fry had to say. There is not a new video on their own Moscow Police PIO channel today, or there hasn't been one since the 22nd. And yesterday, when criminal profiler John Kelly was on the show, we looked at the latest update on the Facebook page, which was this one from December 27th. Okay, so if you missed that episode, please go check that out. And if you are pressed for time, then what you can do is watch the highlights episode I made for you today. I spent all morning editing that for you, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so yes, are we ready? So let me start with this. I'm just going to go back like this. Okay. Nope, better like this. Okay.
Ethan, Xana, Madison, Kaylee. They matter and you matter. You can keep their memory alive. And because of them, you must remember to appreciate the touch of someone beloved.
I was not sure of how to put all my feelings and memories into words tonight. I am still in utter shock, and I am so angry and so sad. It has been hard for us close to the victims to wrap our head around this tragedy. I sadly was not that close to Ethan, but through Xana, he seemed to be an all-around amazing guy. I grew up in the same area as Maddie and Kaylee and had many mutual friends. Coeur d'Alene is a small community and everybody knows everyone. Though we weren't close in high school, I always knew they were so bubbly, bright, and driven. As I transitioned into my freshman year at the University of Idaho and rushing Alpha Phi, I got closer with Kaylee. She was a year above me in the house. She could walk into any room and make anyone smile. You could always hear her laugh and the laughter of others from anywhere in the house, wherever she was. She was so smart, driven, and excelled in everything she did. When I needed advice, she would be the best person to get it from. When I decided to move from U of I down to Boise, she made so much of an effort to reach out and comfort me and always remind me to worry about myself and put myself first. Xana has been one of my very good friends since my sophomore year of high school. Though we went to different high schools, our friend groups mixed together, and we spent countless weekends together and made so many memories, some that I do wish I could remember more.
Thank all of you for braving this weather, because we're the outdoor group, and helping us recognize Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Madison. We will begin lighting the candles at the time the Moscow Vigil starts. We're trying to make this all synchronized, and so we're bringing that around to start the candle lighting here pretty soon. And vigils are taking place right now in McCall, Sandpoint, Idaho Falls, and Ketchum, to name a few, throughout the state. This state is an incredible and compassionate place. We hope the vigil and show of solidarity across the state serves to heal as we confront this devastating loss in the Vandal family. The families and friends of the victims, those young lives were lost. May all those close to Ethan, Xana, Madison, and Kaylee gain solace and strength from this collective gesture from across the state and, quite frankly, the world, wherever Vandal families live. The outpouring has just been unbelievable.
I'm so sorry to interrupt it here. This I boosted as much as I could. The sound is not great, but just wait for the rest of the episode because the sound with everything else should be really, really good. We are going to, everyone's asking, when did this happen? We are going to look at an entire presentation I've done. The day before yesterday, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. I started back at the beginning of Moscow PD's very first update on the murders. And I went from the first post through every single post that they've ever made and pretty much put it in a presentation for you to summarize just key points because there might be some questions that you have as we looked at yesterday, and I put it in my highlights video today as well, like who was cleared when? When exactly was this one and this one cleared? Do they have the weapon yet? Where exactly was Murphy found? Are they going to release the 911 call? All that kind of stuff. We're going to go through everything. I just wanted to show you this in case you haven't seen it yet. And I really apologize if the sound isn't good. It's not that great on my side either. And I tried my absolute best to boost it. But we're almost done watching this one.
I wish all of you here peace in this extremely difficult time as we all navigate our own journey. It's just really hard to process. Just keep the thoughts and prayers of those families in your hearts and minds tonight.
They were the most beautiful children that I've ever met in my life.
Even my children went to school with these kids and they know them personally. So it's a hard thing for everyone to accept.
I finally got my daughter to get out of bed and to come and talk about why she loved them. I do know that social media has posted these kids to be completely different than who they are, and I don't think it's fair because every single one of them are the most amazing kids I've ever met in my life. They've been in my home.
Okay. So if you'd never seen that, those were Candlelight Vigils. I think there were two of them that happened in Boise. So I had never seen that, and the outpouring of support was actually just amazing to have a look at. Don't worry, everyone. I'll slow the chat down a little bit now. I can see there's lots of people joining here. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you are subscribed. We're actually almost at 103,000 Grizzlies. So that is pretty awesome. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. If you're brand new, you've never heard of the Idaho case, and you're just lurking, and you're like, what is all this about? I've missed out. Don't worry, there's a playlist for you, number one, and I like bullet points and presentations, so you can check that out so you can get all caught up. And number two, you are welcome here, even if you know nothing about this case yet. But I'm pretty sure most of you here know a little something about the case because we've been deep diving it since it happened. Now we're going to look at this interview that Chief James Fry did with, I believe it was KREM2. And this is the one where I boosted the audio as much as possible as well, including the interviewer's questions. Her questions were so soft. And I'm not trying to throw shade at her by saying this. It just is a fact that she said, all the time. So I edited out a whole bunch of those. So if you see it just glitch for a second or you think, wait a minute, that's edited. Yes. I edited out the ums and all that stuff and boosted the audio. So let's have a listen because there were some key things shared here as well, which I found very interesting. Thank you so much, Rob. You're like, congrats for getting close to 103K subs. Thank you, Rob. That's so exciting. Let's see where we're in the new year at, level the Grizzlies that are here. Okay. And all the ones who can't make it here for the replay. Let's watch this.
We're actually doing pretty good. We've given people time off. We've adjusted, so we always have people here working on the case, but we've taken some time to spend with our families.
Mm-hmm. And I know that it's been probably incredibly difficult. So can you tell me a little bit about what officers are handling emotionally with this case?
I think all these cases that any law enforcement goes on are emotional. But, we've brought in counselors and helped officers work through that. And we brought in peer support teams to also give support. And we'll continue to do that as we need to. But all in all, the officers are doing really well.
That's
Is the sound good? And you can hear there are some still in here because it would have cut off the sentence too much. But most of them, I must say, I probably took out about 30 of them. So yes, thank you so much. I'm just checking that you guys can hear properly. I really hope so. Thank you, Hilly P. Maincard says, you do so much editing for us too. I do. Okay.
Can we talk a little bit about some of the national attention this case has gotten, and specifically kind of the social media aspect and a lot of, I would say, like armchair detectives.
Sure.
How has that been in trying to do the real police work when you're getting all of that sort of attention?
It's new, you know, we're not used to the national attention quite this big, especially with news crews coming to town and whatnot. But, you know, we brought in a PIO team that's helped us out immensely to deal with just the large amount of requests to do interviews. The online stuff, you know, that's going to happen, right? I mean, that's just the day and age we're in. There's a lot of people who are sending us tips and stuff through that, and we're going to look into all those as well. So,
yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, if you guys saw my update today on the community post, and for those of you who are going to troll me and say, why do you keep interrupting? Because it's my channel and I got things to say. And careful now with the trolling, because you might get reenacted on my second channel, okay? So go ahead, snark away. Anyway, the point is, on my community tab, I put the updates for the Stockton serial killer there. And that police officer, the police chief there actually said, the community was so helpful. There's 2 tipsters that are going to share the reward. So community can be, there is power in community. There is power in sharing this information. Where it becomes really dangerous is, of course, with doxing, with slander, with defamation, and all that kind of stuff. We discussed that yesterday as well with John Kelly, all about embellishment and all of that stuff. So make sure you check it out. But yeah, I just found that this reporter asked repeated questions, you know, trying to throw shade a little bit on armchair detectives and internet sleuths and all that. But you can't paint them all with the same brush, right? I'm saying now, a lot of us want to help. We want to cover the facts and follow the case. We're curious. We want to know what happened. Why did it happen? You know, understanding the psychology, the crime and everything. And then, of course, we want to make sure that people hear the message so they can send in helpful tips. And based on the number they received, I really hope a majority of that would be helpful. Thank you so much. So glad to have you here.
Some of it's very useful, some of it can be distracting, but we're filtering through that and we're managing that, and the investigators are using the information that's good to continue on with that.
You said it's been kind of distracting. I'm sure that as you're trying to parse I don't want to say there's good tips and bad tips, because I'm sure you're running them all out, but as you're trying to parse through all that information, you said it can be distracting and it's probably a lot of extra work.
Yeah, you know, we've had over 17,000 tips come in, and we have a team across the nation that's looking at those and pulling stuff that's good. But we want people to continue to, even any tip that there is, even if they don't think it's a valuable tip, we want those because we'll determine whether they're valuable to us. And people may not think that they're valuable, but we still want that stuff to come into us so that we can look at it and decide if it fits our case or not.
Yeah, and I know a lot of law enforcement says even if you know something you don't think is pertinent to the case, maybe you saw something that you don't know is the key, but maybe detectives and law enforcement know that that's the thing they need.
That's exactly right, and that's why we've asked people, you know, with any pictures from that night or any video to send it to us, send it to our tip line. We'll determine whether that's valuable or not, and we have, like I said, a team that's looking at all that and bringing things together so that we can paint that picture.
And I know
Remember, they brought in the FBI and established a national tip line with the FBI so they can better categorize all the tips as well. So they've got that resource as well, which is really good. And I really like how Chief James Fry says here twice, we'll determine if that tip is useful or not. And as I say, they've got a sophisticated way of categorizing everything. I'm sure with keywords and everything. Thank you so much. Barbara says, love your content and deep dives. Thank you.
I know we have a defamation lawsuit going on, and that's probably kind of beyond the scope of what you guys are focused on. But it kind of highlights the national attention of the case and kind of just the, I guess, messiness of the case and what's going on. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
And I just learned about that this morning on the news, and I think I read it in the paper over the weekend. That has to do with the university and the professor, and we're focused on this homicide right now, so that's what we're going to continue to focus on.
Again, I love that answer because it's like, well, you know, I saw it on the news, read it in the newspaper, but yeah, that's definitely not our focus, is the civil suit between a university professor and a TikToker who has accused her of being involved in these murders, of committing the murders. My goodness. Good luck trying to prove that all in court that you are correct, because the case is still active and ongoing. My word. So I like the way you answered that.
How do you stay focused on the facts of the case with all of that extra stuff going on?
Well, I think it's part of what we do. It's, you know, we're trained to investigate things, and we're fact finders. That's what an investigation does. It puts all the pieces together so that we can paint the picture, so that when an arrest is made and it goes to trial, that we can lay that all out for a jury to be able to see the facts and see how we got from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm. The property owners of that unit that the students were in, have you spoken with them? Are they cooperating with law enforcement?
We have spoken with them, and they are cooperating.
Have they spoken to the owner of the house? Yes, they have. Yes, they have. And they are cooperating with law enforcement. So there you go. Sabrina says, from the chief too. Yes, not as many. Believe me, I had to edit out so many. Yes. Okay. So they are in contact. Just for everyone who's like, oh, where is this person? Law enforcement, as we know, we learn from the best in the chat here. Sometimes we have cop facts, Perry Freeman in the chat. We've oftentimes got Lieutenant Peter Pranzo in the chat, NYPD, John Kelly, former detectives, all kinds, right? That join us here in the chat, and they remind us, guys, the public only knows 5 to 10% of what's going on in any ongoing and active investigation. Usually on the lower end, like 5%. So we can't assume, you know, that they say, well, they haven't spoken to the owner. They have. They just said it. They have. They probably did long ago, you know. Thank you, John.
Thinking about winter break coming to an end and students coming back, do you have a message for those students who are returning?
You know, I think I stated in an earlier interview, we want the students to come back. We're going to do everything we can to provide a safe environment. But that really is a family decision. That's a decision that those students and the families need to make. But we're going to do everything in our power to continue to provide safety.
Are there still patrols? Are there still extra patrols?
Just going to pause there. About 40% of the students from the University of Idaho are still not back on campus. The semester has started again, I believe, and they haven't come back because of safety concerns, of course, which is why Chief James Fry says, well, we would really like them to come back, but of course, safety first.
Around the university, and how long are those going to be in place if so?
So we always have patrols going on campus. You know, it's an area that our patrol team, first of all, is up there, as well as some campus officers, but I do believe there's going to be some additional state troopers in the area after the break and stuff. And as well, we've reached out to Lake Tahoe County to provide some extra patrols, just so that people were more seen and they can, you know, feel a little bit more comfortable, hopefully.
Yeah. And I know that you said you've gotten about 17,000 tips. Have those helped?
See, there's still so many M's. I'm sorry to it just annoys me. But I do want to say, because some of you are saying, you know, is this reporter a rookie and all that kind of stuff. I think it's holiday season, right? So there's a lot of, I see in a lot of news channels and everything, there's fill-in people now. So there's that.
Lead the case in a new direction? Have they helped kind of divert where you guys are looking?
So like I said, we're taking the facts that we know, we're taking all tips that we know, and we're putting those pieces to the puzzle together and painting that picture. And as we continue to investigate, we'll update as soon as we can, but we're moving forward on this investigation, and we're not going to stop until we get a conclusion.
And I know that you can't give us everything, but do you have evidence that can prove the case when and if you do find a suspect?
Like I said, that's part of the investigation, and I know people are frustrated with us holding that so tight. But when we can provide any updated information, we will. I can guarantee you that.
Can you kind of explain to people who may not understand or may have that frustration of why aren't they telling us more, why you hold back some information?
Well, you always hold back information on any case that you work, but one this big, you hold back because you want to have an unbiased jury pool. And
again, I pause. There really are already, we said this about 5 days ago, the narrative switched slightly. The language just changed just a little bit, where it sounds like prosecution talk. And that's actually quite exciting. So, as the chief will say here, whether that's in a year from now that they arrest someone, or whether it's in a month from now, whenever, it could be right now, it could be January, it could be in a year from now. So we must be patient. These things take time. They're building their case, but they're definitely all doing a bit of prosecution talk already, which is really great.
It's not just about today. It's about in a year from now or whenever we make an arrest and go to trial. We want to have that pool of people who can look at the case and not have all the facts to that to make the decision to find this person guilty.
What's the
Yes. They don't just want an arrest, they want a conviction. And they definitely talk in prosecution talk. You can hear that change. We heard it in Delphi too. I mean, wow, that case was almost a 6-year investigation. And at some point there, we started seeing a bit of a change, a shift in the narrative already there with, oh, they're talking prosecution and trial. But here, definitely, I mean, my ears have been like, ooh, for about 5 or so days now. I'm like, wait a minute, things are changing just a little bit here, just tiny, tiny changes, which is also what inspired me to go to the very beginning of all the press releases they've ever made, look at all the videos and just see the shift happen. Like, when did it happen and is it shifting? And even though it seems to be prosecution talk, it still could take quite a bit of time to build their case, arrest the person or persons, and then, of course, it will be trial time, conviction time, and all that.
timeline on DNA or lab results?
That's a good question. That has everything to do with the lab and how long they take to do what they do. And we don't want to rush that, right? We want to ensure that we're taking our time to get all that right.
Okay, Grizzlies. Here's Nina saying, stop interrupting. Can you guys all educate Nina about why I interrupt? Thank you.
So we're just waiting for
Yes.
them. It's kind of we have to be patient too. We would love to have all that information immediately, but like I've told people, real life and the movies are a little bit different. And
Real life and the movies are just a little bit different. Katie says, not stopping until we get a conclusion. Interesting verbiage, exactly.
the movies at the end of the hour, they have all that information. We don't get that quite that fast, but we're going to be patient for that.
Yeah, the CSI effect, right?
Yes.
Everybody's thinking that, it's so quick, and it's definitely not that. And I understand if you can't.
Yes, the CSI effect. We've talked about that before as well. Detectives often say, this is not CSI, you guys. Elgo says, because it's her channel. But also, please do some research on fair use and what that really means. Unless you'd like my channel to be taken down, then I could just play everything without ever interrupting. Sure. I'll just be here as a robot and not as a person, right? Okay, sorry for getting snarky. Moving on.
Tell me, but is there DNA in this case?
Like I said, I can't answer that question, but we've collected a lot of evidence and we're looking into every aspect of it.
And I know there's been funding from the governor to aid in the investigation, so how is that money being used?
It's still ongoing, and that's actually at a level a little above me. I just present the numbers to our city supervisor and to the mayor, and then they work with the governor to determine that.
So, and I'm still familiarizing myself with all of the aspects of this.
Okay. So the funding was $1 million was assigned on December 2nd.
But when did that funding come in?
So that was probably 4 weeks ago, maybe even, when I think Colonel Wills announced that there would be some money made available. So we're just working through the processes of, where it goes and how it's used.
Has this case changed any policies within the Moscow Police Department or changed the way that you go about investigating?
It is not. We've always been very quick to secure scenes. We've always been very quick to call in ISP, and we've always been very quick to call in our federal partners, FBI, ATF, depending on the type of the case, of who we need the specialty from. So I know there's a lot of confusion out there that we're a small department, but we do utilize our resources and we utilize them very well.
And what about with getting information out to people and the media? I know there was some criticism at the beginning about how quickly information was coming out and the idea that there was not an ongoing threat to the public, and then people were concerned that there was not a suspect under arrest and that.
So I take responsibility for information not getting out as fast as possible. I probably should have been much quicker on that. But in the beginning of these, we're a small department, so everybody's working on this case. And to me to be
I'm back, you guys.
included. But we realized pretty quickly that we needed to get information out. That's why we called in the PIO team, and they've helped us get information. And I think we've been much better at that since that time. Some of the information early on, you don't, like I said, you don't release a ton. I wish I would have been. I had a press conference earlier, but like I said, I take responsibility for that.
He feels so bad for not having a press conference earlier. Like he's like, maybe I should have done that quicker, but I think they did great. Okay, carrying on.
Probably another one of those that might be hard to answer, but when will the department release the 911 call, or can we expect that to be publicly released?
I think it'll be released when the prosecution believes that we can release that. That may be at trial, that may be before then. But some of that, we make a decision.
I hope you guys are listening carefully. When will the 911 call be released, right? I'm going to go back a little bit.
Some of the information early on, you don't, like I said, you don't release a ton. I wish I would have been. I had a press conference earlier, but like I said, I take responsibility for that.
Probably another one of those that might be hard to answer, but when will the department release the 911 call, or can we expect that to be publicly released?
Now, you tell me what you guys hear, because I see people being like, oh my gosh, they're going to release the 911 call, but I just hear something just a little bit different. Let's have a listen.
I think it'll be released when the prosecution believes that we can release that. That may be at trial, that may be before then. But some of that, we make a decision as a team of investigators and administration, as well as our prosecutor's office. So we want to make sure that we hold that until it's no longer, not that it's not needed, but it's okay for the case.
Until it's no longer, he was going to say needed, but then he's like, until it's no longer, well, not that it's not needed, but until, until trial time, it sounds like. Very interesting. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I hear. Okay. I see that I might be out of sync. Am I out of sync? Nope, not released until trial. It doesn't sound like, oh my gosh, they're going to release it right now. I don't know why people are hearing that. Maybe it's just very optimistic ears, right? Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Chapin says, I'm hearing they're not releasing it right now. That's what I'm hearing too.
Something specific on the call that you believe could lead to an arrest?
Like I said, I can't discuss that. It's part of the investigation, but as soon as we can release that information, we will.
And I think this may be the last question. We know that at least one victim's family has hired a private detective. Have you spoken with that detective or the private investigator? Are you kind of in contact with that family?
We're in contact with all the families daily. We have a representative from the police department that communicates with them. I have not been in contact with the private investigator. I think the same family has an attorney which we have been in contact with the attorney, and we actually channel all of our stuff through the attorney.
Okay. Anything else that you can think to add, or anything you want people to know?
You know, I think the biggest thing is just the outpouring of support we've had across the community, across our state, and across our nation. We've received multiple emails, food, all cards, you name it. People have reached out to us and thanked us for the hard work, and we'll continue to work hard. We're going to work until, like I said, we get a completion of this case.
Okay, put a 1 in the chat if I'm in sync, put a 2 in the chat if I'm not, because I'm getting mixed signals here from you guys. Am I not? I could check myself. So let me check myself quickly as well. Let's do a little quick Grizzly break, then it's presentation time. Okay, I'm back and we should be all good now. Mark says he smiled during the last question, so I think there's some truth to that. I must say, a lot of people say, why does he smile? It's so inappropriate, right? But I really think he smiles when he feels uncomfortable, when it's like, oh no, I can't answer that type thing. So anyway, but each to their own, right? Okay, so now it's presentation time. This is from going down that rabbit hole and be like, let's start from the beginning. I'm such a freaking nerd, right? I'm like, let's go to the very beginning and just summarize everything. But it's because I had a question that started this whole thing of, wait a minute, who exactly was cleared and when? That started the whole thing. Then we got to know everything, right? So now I'm going to share it with you. So I hope you enjoy this presentation time. If you do, please give the video a thumbs up and also hit share so that other Grizzlies or new people can come and find us over here. And if you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you know when I'm next going live. We've got lots of exciting things planned for you. Probably still before the new year. I'm here a lot, okay? I love what I do. And so I will see you probably very soon again. Okay, let's go to this. I'm just showing you the map again, and I put a little at 1:56 updated time on the map. Of course, we know that's been updated. I know people are now doubting the validity of this Corner Club photo. I think either way, it doesn't make a difference to the case to be like, there they were. Okay, so some people are saying, you know, it's edited or not. I don't know. I don't think that's got anything to do with what's happening in this investigation. But let's carry on here. If we look at the map, we know the timeline and everything. So I just look at that, and they say there from 10 till 1:30, Kaylee and Maddie at the Corner Club. And the reason I pointed the photo that was released is because from day one, they've had this. They would have had this corner. They probably have the whole video, of course, of exactly what happened there at Corner Club. Probably multiple cameras that caught them walking to the food truck, and maybe even multiple cameras driving them home. And then, of course, around the neighborhood. So just to remind us of that. Okay. Carrying on. Who said, this is a question I get asked all the time, so I'm also answering some of your questions. Who said that the deaths occurred between 3 and 4 a.m.? I mean, the logical answer is the coroner, and yep, you're right. You win if you said the coroner. This is now from little clippings that I got from the Idaho Statesman. Very useful resource, I find. So they say, this is when Latah County Coroner Kathy Mabert said the homicides occurred. Moscow Mayor Art Betker previously told the Statesman that police told him that they believed the deaths were 3 to 4 a.m. So there's that as well. How do we know that Kaylee and Maddie called Jack Tukur? Olivia Goncalves, sister of Kaylee Goncalves, said in an interview with TV show Inside Edition that her sister and Mogen called a contact named Jack in her phone several times before they died. Yesterday, someone left me a comment to say, because the police continue to say they are aware of the male that they called, and later said, we do not believe he's a suspect at this time, and we'll look at the exact dates of when that happened. They were speculating, well, they could have also called someone else as well. They could have made multiple calls to multiple people, which is, I suppose, valid. I mean, Olivia Goncalves cleared that up of who they called, but yes, I agree. We don't know who else they may have called from their phones, right? Obviously, at between 2:26 and 2:52. So there it says at 2:26 a.m., Kaylee starts to call Jack. She said Kaylee calls Jack 6 times between 2:26 a.m. and 2:44 a.m. From 2:44 to 2:52, Maddie calls Jack 3 times, and then Kaylee makes a final call to him at 2:52 a.m. And then, of course, Kaylee's parents also added that there was a text also sent to Jack, the ex-boyfriend. And the reason we know the name and say the name here is because it was said by the family. Okay, because we learned a lot yesterday, with John Kelly being on the show. Okay, so to be even more sensitive to naming names, try to avoid it if you can. Okay, so we've got that. So that is how we know those two things. Now, there are still these rumors that go around. I still see it. And they say, why were there rumors that the roommates were scared and hiding in a room, or that they heard something? And here I found this source in the same Idaho Statesman article. They say 2 roommates were home at the time of the killings, police have said. The roommates heard something, according to Chapin's mother, Stacy, though she did not get into details. Now there, I'm going to have to go again back. I did watch all of it yesterday, but I want to go again. I couldn't find the part where she says that. But if you haven't seen my Idaho case file, it's got all the interviews and press conferences in chronological order for you, time-stamped and everything, chaptered out for you. So they say that the roommates heard something, according to Chapin's mother, Stacy, though she did not get into details. That's where that rumor started. Whether they did or didn't now, we still don't know. We don't know much about what the roommates have shared with law enforcement. All we know is that they have been cleared. I say it in inverted commas because they do not believe that they're involved in the crimes. Of course, no one's cleared until the investigation is complete. Rock Everything says, I would like a deep dive on Xana and Ethan, to be honest. Me too. We just don't know much about their activities, especially that evening between 9 and 1:45. So then on November 13th at 11:58 a.m., the Moscow police received a call about an unconscious person at a home on King Road near the University of Idaho. Officers arrived shortly after and found the bodies of 4 victims on the 2nd and 3rd floor. Because I see today still people ask, well, how did we actually know that they were found on the 2nd and 3rd floor? That's how it was said in the early stages of this investigation. Of course, I'm combining this with not just from the Idaho Statesman article, but also what law enforcement was saying. I've cross-referenced a whole bunch and just put this in the presentation for you. And yes, Happy New Year to everyone. I'm sure I'll wish you again in another video. Thank you so much for that. I'll still be here. So November 13th at 3:07 p.m., the university posted an alert on social media that said police were investigating a homicide on King Road. The post said that the suspect was not known and advised students to stay away from the area and shelter in place. Now, I do also want to just put a disclaimer out there for anyone that's a know-it-all on the case and feels like, you know what, this is nothing new, I know everything. This is called fine-tuning the details. We're just going over it because there's still some lingering questions that I'd also like to clear up, things that I had in my own mind of like, wait a minute, when was that one cleared? When? What happened here? And then I'm just sharing it with you in case it helps anyone. So November 13th at 3:46 p.m., the school put out a second alert saying police did not believe that there was an active threat, and the shelter-in-place advisory had actually been lifted. The alert warned students to remain vigilant. Then, November 13th at 5:48 p.m., police confirmed the homicides for the first time in a news release. They said, "This is an ongoing investigation," the release said. "Information will be updated as soon as next of kin is notified, and we have information that we can share. The Moscow Police Department gives our heartfelt condolences to family members, friends, and the Moscow community." Okay. I find the clarity quite soothing. How about you guys? Just to know exactly what happened where. Monday, November 14th, 2022, At 11:22 a.m., they said the 4 victims were identified, and it was confirmed that they were all University of Idaho students. At 1:41 p.m., Moscow Mayor Art, I say Betge, it's probably Betke to you guys in America, right? That seems like a very Dutch or Afrikaans surname. I'm from South Africa, living in the Netherlands, so I would say Mayor Art Betge, okay, called the event a senseless act of violence in a press release. A couple of hours later, Idaho State Board of Education President Kurt Liebech said in a statement that the students were murdered. Around the same time, Idaho football coach Jason Eck spoke about the students and also said that they were murdered during a press conference with Associate Athletic Director Jarek Walcott. We do not know Dawn who drove them to the corner club. John Kelly had that same question yesterday, like who drove them to the corner club? That we don't know. And yes, Teresa, remind everyone, breathe, deep breaths. So on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022, Moscow PD had a press release, and they used the term edged weapon, such as a knife, and said that the weapon had not been located. And to this day, they still continue to say the weapon has not been located. Now, in a recent interview that I saw from a former law enforcement professional, they'd asked, well, would they tell the public if they have located the weapon? And he said they would ordinarily tell the public if they've located the weapon, unless there's a serial number on the weapon and they need to track it down of where it was purchased and then maybe look, at surveillance footage and things like that. It was very sad. The police were so intent on giving tickets to underage drinking in College Town, they missed the actual crime going on. Well, I don't know if it's their fault. They didn't know it was going on, right? This is a question I get all the time, and I don't know, because people say there's usually photos of that, but not always, right? When were their bodies removed from the house? No video available. There's no video. There's no pictures, exactly. So on Tuesday, November 15th, they said edged weapon. Thank you. Continuing on. Same day at 11:15, Stacy Chapin, Ethan's mother, said that all 4 victims were stabbed. It was not about drugs or a love triangle. On Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, we've got the coroner here, Kathy Mabert. Later, at 10:52 a.m., Latah County Coroner Kathy Mabert told Spokane's KXLY-TV that preliminary investigation showed the victims had been stabbed to death. At 2:38 p.m., the Statesman reported that police were searching for, so that's where that came from, because people started saying, why is social media saying a Rambo-style knife? Why are they saying a K-bar knife? Well, the Statesman reported that police were searching for a Rambo-style knife and had visited several Moscow area stores inquiring about a variety of combat knives. One of the knives that police were asking about was a K-bar, which is a military-grade blade. They were specifically asking whether or not we carry K-bar style knives, which we do not, said Scott Jutta, general manager of Moscow Building Supply, in an interview. So that's where that came from. On Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, there was the first press conference. These are just a couple of bullet points. 4 victims, timeline. Their timelines were shared, the frat party and the bar downtown. 4 homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th, 2022. Around noon on November 13th, officers received a call about an unconscious person. All were stabbed with a knife. I paid attention to all the language and everything, and if you want to rewatch it, as I say, it's all in chronological order for you in the case file. I'll link it below afterwards. There was no sign of forced entry. Autopsies were performed on this day. They said it was isolated and targeted, but they said the community is to remain vigilant. They were not aware of a party at the home that night, but they asked for more info on Xana and Ethan's timeline. They are looking at everyone. When asked, well, do you have a suspect? Are you looking at, the ex-boyfriend, the friends? They said, we're looking at everyone and interviewing everyone to clear potential persons of interest. They said it was not a hostage situation. And they were already from this day, November 16th, they said They are looking for that individual to solve this. So yes, it could be 2 killers. It could be, still speculatively. But already from this day, they were using the language that individual. It's not like it ever changed. Thank you for subbing here. Milan says, if the university alert to shelter in place didn't go out until after 3 p.m., it makes sense that they removed the bodies before the media got involved. That does make sense. And thank you for all these compliments. Very nice. So they are looking for that individual, November 16th, just in case people say, only recently did they start. No, they're already there. They do not know why the call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. That they were still figuring out. They believe there were 2 roommates in the house that were unharmed. Not clear if others were in the house. They actually say surviving roommates throughout. And that I actually do find interesting because people in the beginning were correcting me, saying I mustn't say surviving roommates because they didn't survive anything. They were unharmed, which is why throughout the case coverage, I'm like, oh, careful now, say unharmed. But yet law enforcement has always said surviving, which is interesting then to consider that in the beginning, Ethan's mom had mentioned something, according to that Idaho Statesman article, that the roommates heard something. I don't know if she was just speculating, did they hear something? Surely they must have heard something. Maybe. But the Idaho Statesman said it like that, right? And I know that there was rumor going around in the beginning of they heard something and then they sheltered in one room downstairs and locked the door and all that. We don't know those details. We literally still don't know. But they said, yeah, they believe there were 2. Like, how many were there? And then the answer was, we believe there were 2. The September 12th incident at this press conference, they also cleared up they do not believe it's related to the murders. And if you don't know what that is, it would be that person that threatened students with a knife and then turned themselves in. Yes, exactly. Lead alive. As Grizzly said yesterday, the knife is almost an extension of the killer. In my opinion, he treasures it. Probably, yeah. Terry says unharmed is a better word in my opinion. I agree. That's why I started using it, right? But then I'm like, law enforcement always says surviving. So we just don't know the situation, the circumstances, right? Maybe there's a reason they say surviving roommates. On Wednesday, November 17th, 2022, Coroner Mabert said that the weapon had to have been a large knife and that there was a fair amount of blood. She also said that DNA samples from clothing, bedding, nail clippings, etc. still need to be tested. You could see the report, the autopsy report that she drew up, which says for immediate release, Kathy Mabert, RNBS, right, so a registered nurse, and she's a defense attorney as well. Date of release, 11/17/2022. Date of pronounced death is 11/13/2022 at noon. Ethan Chapin, age 20, male, hometown Conway, Washington. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, female, from Rathdrum, Idaho. Xana Kernodle, 20, female, from Post Falls, Idaho. Maddie Mogen, 21, female, from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Place of pronounced death, 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho. And there go the fireworks I told you all about. You can hear it. If you missed the beginning of the episode, yes, the Netherlands gets very excited about New Year's. The cause of death, homicide, murder, manner of death, stabbing. Okay, Kathy Mabert, Latah County coroner. And there again, I made it bigger so you can see manner of death, stabbing. Because I know along the way it's been speculated, what if it wasn't stabbing? What if it was slashing or axing and all that kind of stuff? On Wednesday, November 17th, same day, a candlelight vigil was held at Boise State University. We looked at that at the beginning of the episode. Students who knew the victims were invited to speak. Aaron Snell, the public information officer for the Idaho State Police, said that autopsies were complete and full details won't be released to the public. There was no sign of SA. Friday, November 18th. This is now, get your notebooks out, get those Grizzly notebooks out. Who was cleared when? Don't worry, there's bullet points later as well. But on November 18th, on the Friday, the 2 roommates and white hoodie guy were cleared. They do not believe they're involved in the crime. Those are the first ones who were cleared. Okay. Just checking. Saturday, November 19th. The 911 call, they said, came from inside the residence from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. But they didn't specify if one of the surviving roommates made the call. You know, they withheld the identity of the caller. They also then, on that day, cleared the private party driver. And that would be from the food truck to the house. we still don't know who drove them from the house to the corner club. On Sunday, November 20th, 2022, there was a second press conference. They said the 911 call came from inside the residence from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones, withholding the identity of the caller. The killer was not the caller, because then someone asked directly, well, was the killer the caller? They said, I could tell you no. 2 bodies were found on the 2nd floor and 2 bodies were found on the 3rd floor. They are aware of the male that Kaylee and Maddie called. They do not believe he's a suspect at this time. That's November 20th. Now we're on December 29th. It's been a long time since they actually cleared Jack D, the ex-boyfriend. And yet the internet has decided, I think the internet's decided so much about this ex-boyfriend that even if they catch the killer, there's still going to be people that believe it's the ex-boyfriend, which is very unfortunate. It definitely ruins lives, and we must not do that. So I do understand, when we look at motive and the logic of it all and the most likely everything, but it's not always like that. This could literally be some stranger, even if it was a stalker, a voyeur, a peeping Tom, all of that. A picarist. If you don't know what a picarist is, damn, we learned that yesterday from John Kelly. I was like, picarism. Okay, it's also in my highlights episode from earlier. Moving on, they say the homicide. The homicide was by stabbing. Some victims had defensive wounds, and each victim was stabbed multiple times. The identity of the 911 caller has not been released. They keep on saying it. 2 roommates, white hoodie guy, and the private driver were cleared, and they are aware of those multiple calls, and they've not located a weapon. I just put them there because different people spoke. Okay. Yes. Sia says another thing is that the surviving roommates are totally shielded from the media. Maybe they are still in danger. And that's possible. It's possible. I mean, I hope that they have bodyguards or whatever it is, security guards. I hope they're okay. On Sunday, November 20th, 2022, Jack D had not been ruled out as a suspect yet, but yet it's still from the earlier one there. But the way it was worded was, we believe there's no connection there. So that was from Captain Roger Lanier. They said detectives are aware of multiple phone calls from victims Madison and Katie to mail. This information is part of the ongoing investigation, which is why people are like, wait. Is he properly cleared? Is he not cleared? Detectives are seeking all outside surveillance video taken from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th. So that is still valid. That little map that they made? We looked at it before, also in one of the episodes. It's just this from the Arboretum to the house to the south side of, I think, Highway 95, they said, to Taylor Avenue. That square. They still want footage from there. So if you live in that area, and if you're only seeing this now, yes, they still want that. The FBI then added the link for digital media submissions, which was really helpful, I'm sure, as well, to help categorize. November 21st, they cleared any individual who was at the residence at the time of the 911 call. They said detectives are releasing that on the morning of November 13th, the surviving roommates summoned friends to the residence because they believed one of the 2nd floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. At 11:58 a.m., a 911 call requested aid for an unconscious person. The call originated from inside the residence on one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Multiple people talked with 911 dispatcher before a Moscow police officer arrived at the location. Officers entered the residence and found the 4 victims on the 2nd and 3rd floors. At this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe that any individual at the residence when 911 was called is involved in the crime. So, November 23rd, 2022. Police have not been able to verify anything about Kaylee having a stalker. The weapon was and they wrote fixed blade, not fixed, but fixed blade knife. That's what they said on this day. The weapon has not been found. 3rd press conference, then they really clarify, they do not believe the ex-boyfriend is involved in this crime. Okay, so there's that. November 25th, they said the 1999 double stabbing is not, that was the one in Oregon, is not believed to be connected to this crime. So when people are still speculating today that it's connected, well, there they said it isn't. It doesn't mean, I know what you guys mean, that sometimes, yes, they can say we do not believe it, and then if they find more evidence to believe it, then they can say, okay, well, now we believe it at this point in the investigation. I just want to kind of clear the water, so to speak, just a little bit of clarity of well, what are we still dealing with and what are we not? So we can go ahead with all the information they give us, knowing what happened and what didn't happen. On November 29th, 2022, which is now a month ago, they said that Hannah Cleere, her death was an overdose and it's not related to the crime. So all the stuff coming out now, I know there's a lot of secrecy and stuff around her death, but I believe it's because she overdosed. She may have done that on purpose, right? So even I watched her entire funeral because it's available from her obituary. There's a link. And they don't mention anything about it there, which usually is the case if it's a case like that, right? But I just don't want to go the whole route of saying that the girls, the victims of the Idaho case, they were bullying her and therefore this and this, because that really, for me, it just feels wrong. It feels like, oh, now we're going down the road of victim blaming. If it's true, I mean, I'd rather than be shocked than now speculate, ooh, they could have bullied her and that's why, and this and this and this, because we don't know that. So the red Mustang, you guys remember that? There was a picture of a red Mustang with like all kinds of, I don't know, looked like a forensic team on it, like looking at everything. And they said they do not believe the red Mustang is connected to this crime. And on that date, November 29th, the cars were towed from 1122 King Road. November 30th, there was a candlelight vigil at the University of Idaho. Remember, it was postponed because they knew everyone was going away for the Thanksgiving holiday. And so they decided, let's postpone it so that as many people as possible could actually be there. December 2nd, there's another one cleared. The 6th person on the lease was cleared. December 5th, detectives continue investigating what occurred at approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th, when Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were believed to be at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Pierce Drive. Any interactions, context, direction, and method of travel, or anything abnormal could add context to what occurred. So they start using this, it could really add context. They don't care who's doing what in what footage that maybe some people have, if there's underage drinking. I mean, it reminds me of the Kylie Rodney case when they also, with all those teens were like, these are not teens now, but you know what I mean? Come forward if anyone has any information, and they were all scared as well. So I really hope that if anyone does have critical information, that they will be inspired to come forward, because it could really, really help the case. But here, the way it's worded is that they are investigating what occurred from approximately 9 p.m. to 1:45 a.m. So the little map says 8 to 9, they were at the party. Well, they don't know what happened after 9. Like, were they still at the party? Were they still at Sigma Chi? Did they walk somewhere? Did they drive somewhere? That's still a mystery. I did do an episode as well, all the things we don't know, if you want to check that out. This is the other way around, all the things we do know, because I still had a lot of questions. I hope it's helpful to anyone watching. Thank you. State of Steelers says great work on the case. Thank you. So using tips and leads, investigators have identified an incident involving Kaylee, this was December 5th, at a local business, which may have been the stalker reference that she made to friends and family. In mid-October, 2 males were seen inside a local business. They parted ways, and one male appeared to follow Kaylee inside the business, and as she exited, to walk to her car. The male turned away, and it did not appear he made any contact with her. Detectives contacted both males and learned the 2 were attempting to meet women at the business. This was corroborated through additional investigation. Based on available information, detectives believe that this was an isolated incident and not an ongoing pattern of stalking. No evidence suggests that the 2 males were involved in the murders. So they're worded again a little bit differently. Instead of saying we do not believe they're involved in this crime, they say no evidence suggests the 2 males were involved in the murders, so essentially cleared. Then we know that Murphy was found in a room where the murders did not occur. And from this Idaho Statesman article, they say, while the dog was in the house, and this is what I wanted to find. Remember, if you have watched all my coverage, there was a time when I'm like, wait a minute. And I think it was Aaron Snell in a clip that was like, there was just something about the dog being, was he outside, was he inside? But anyway, so here they say, while the dog was in the house when officers arrived, it has not been determined where the dog was physically located when the murders took place. Now, the dog could have just been in the room. Murphy, the dog, could have just been in the room where they found him. Could be as simple as that. But it hadn't been determined exactly where he was when the murders took place. Oh, sorry. Now I've got to go that side. Sorry, I almost skipped now. December 6th, Moscow PD, PIO, YouTube channel was launched for video updates. So that's pretty much when the press conferences stopped. I mean, it already stopped quite a bit before that, but that's when they decided, okay, we're going to put out regular video updates on YouTube, which I think was actually very smart because the energy was feeling very aggressive and frantic and like, what? So this is just a great way to release the information and not be attacked left and right and be distracted, right? They're busy with the investigation and it's quite a small team. So December 7th, the victim's personal belongings were removed from the home. Moscow PD PIO's second YouTube video went up. So I'm sure you've seen the page, the Moscow PD PIO page, right? This one? This is what I'm talking about. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos so far. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. On December 7th, 2022, I mean, I was wondering to myself, well, when did they talk about this Elantra? When exactly? December 7th is the answer. Police asked for the community's help in locating a white 2011 to 2013 Elantra. And they still ask for it every day. Every time they have an update, they're asking for information about this Elantra, 2011 to 2013. The vehicle was in the immediate area of 1122 King Road during the early morning hours of November 13th. The occupant or occupants may have critical information to share regarding the case. So they say, you know, if you own the car, drove the car, borrowed the car, whatever, if you know anything, they would like to talk to the people who were driving the white Hyundai Elantra model 2011-2013 because they may have critical information. December 9th, the new FBI tip line was established to now help categorize things. They already had the tip line, but then they're like, oh my gosh, now you can call this number as well and have the digital submissions to help categorize tips and leads. And then another YouTube video was released. Hold on. That one is 1, 2. It was actually the third one. That's a typo. Third YouTube video released. They then said on that day, the Banfield alcohol-related incident is not related to the murder investigation, and the body cam footage is also not related. That was given to citizens who made a FOIA request, a public request, and they gave them the information. Like, here's the body cam for all the noise complaints and everything, and they are very interesting to see. But the police are saying, we didn't release that because it's got something to do with the case. They released it because people requested it, and it's part of public information. Lockdown with April says, I've also heard that the dog was picked up by animal control. I would like clarification if animal control was ever involved. They did say that. They do consistently say that. Yes. Rochelle says, still don't understand why the 2 girls were cremated. We see that a lot in these cases, right? And I believe the ashes are together as well, which is very sweet. The dog is now with the ex-boyfriend, you guys. Okay. It was taken by animal control, and then a responsible party picked up the dog, and then we've seen photos later of the ex-boyfriend with the dog. I also think so. Sia says, I think they got the new FBI tip line to filter out the tips for the car. They really want that car. I would think so, yeah. It would be like, sometimes I receive so many emails, and if I'm looking for something, I would also just type in a keyword, let's say Elantra, and then you could see like 200 emails there about an Elantra, right? You could filter for that. So I'm sure it helps them a lot with their categorizing systems. Yes, Caroline says, hello, this is the tip line. Press 1 for sensible tips, 2 for wild guesses, and 3 for foil hat craziness. Thank you for your assistance. December 10th, 2022. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's correct now. The 4th YouTube video was released. They increased police presence. They said the semester commences. That's why I say that, because, I mean, you guys are saying January 9th, so I'm not sure what's commencing there. But the wording there was semester commences. So not sure what studies are going on there or people returning back to campus, right? Maybe getting ready for the next semester. December 12th, 2022, Captain Roger Lanier on the 5th YouTube video. He said, anyone engaging in threats or harassment, whether in person, online, or otherwise, needs to understand that they could be subjecting themselves to criminal charges. On December 13th, 2022, Captain Roger Lanier was on the 6th YouTube video. On December 15th, then, he was on the 7th YouTube video. And there was a reminder about the interest for video content in that area, that square area, the map, Taylor Avenue, I-95, Arboretum, and the house. And then they said that was the day when this new surveillance image from the Exxon gas station attendant came out. because that lady who worked at the gas station had gone over footage in her spare time of the place she worked at and found a white car passing by at a pretty fast pace and turning down a side street heading west. I think that was on Troy Avenue or something like that, right? Anyway, that was when? December 15th. And then on December 16th, Chief James Fry was talking on the 8th YouTube video and said the investigative pace will not slow down over the holidays. I'm pretty sure whoever's working over the holiday period, they're working round the clock. They're not just going to just be like, time out, it's time for Christmas and New Year's. Okay, see you guys next time, you know. So I'm sure they're working very, very hard behind the scenes. December 19th, Chief James Fry released the 9th YouTube video, and December 20th was the 10th YouTube video. And that was the day when this Eugene, Oregon Elantra female owner was cleared. So interestingly, let's look at the next slide because I think it's there. Is it? Hold on. Yes. Okay. Wait, that was December 19th. Okay, I'll show you how they worded it. They said, there we go. December 20th, 2022. Investigators are aware of a Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon, and have spoken with the owner. The vehicle was involved in a collision and subsequently impounded. The vehicle is registered out of Colorado, and the female owner is not believed to have any relation to any property in Moscow, Idaho, or the ongoing murder investigations. The public is asked to stop contacting the owner. Don't know why the public was contacting the owner, maybe to verify or something, but damn. There were pictures of it, and they said, investigators are aware of a Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon. We are working with the local jurisdiction to determine if the vehicle is related to our case. So that was 9 days ago or so, where they said that. So they've cleared the female owner, but the vehicle itself, they've impounded and are still looking into. So that's pretty interesting. There have been numerous questions about leadership in this investigation. Let me be clear on this day, right? Let me be clear. This is the Moscow Police Department's investigation, and I am the chief of police. This is all from Chief James Fry. The decisions are mine and mine alone. I have an excellent command staff with over 90 years of combined experience, overseeing the investigation's daily operation, and I select who runs the investigative team, said Moscow Police Chief James Fry. We are supported by highly trained and experienced personnel from the Idaho State Police and the FBI. Their continued resources and knowledge are vital to our success. Our investigative units work under a unified structure and have the autonomy to move forward and solve this case. Despite statements about my team, we remain focused on solving the murder of 4 students to seek justice for them, their families, and to help our community heal. December 20th as well, rumor control. Another video believed to be taken on the night of the murders at a local downtown business is known to investigators. This was on this day where they said investigators have identified an individual called Adam in the video, and he is cooperating with detectives. Progress continues to locate the white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, believed to be in the immediate area of the King Road residence during the early morning hours of November 13th. Investigators believe the occupants may have critical information to share regarding this case and have identified over 22,000 vehicles. If you know of or own a vehicle matching this description, or know of anyone who may have been driving this specific vehicle on the days preceding or the day of the murders, so before and on the day and even the day after, please forward that information to the tip line. On December 24th, right by Christmas Eve time, they had 7,650 email tips to work through, 4,313 phone tips, and 4,583 digital media submissions. December 27th was when this professor at the University of Idaho was accused by a TikToker of being involved in the murders. And yeah, there's a whole lawsuit happening there. And law enforcement actually cleared that professor, which I'm really glad that they spoke up about that, just so that there's not more doubt cast on the professor. Now we get to the final bullet point summary. Who exactly was cleared and when? November 18th, the 2 surviving roommates and white hoodie guy. November 19th, the private party driver. November 20th, any individual who was at the residence at the time the 911 call was made. November 23rd, the ex-boyfriend. December 2nd, the 6th person on the lease. December 5th, the 2 males that followed Kaylee around that business. And December 27th, the professor that was accused by a TikToker. And of course, they said that this person, Adam, is cooperating with law enforcement. But they didn't say cleared, but they said cooperating. So as John Kelly said yesterday, Adam would probably have a plethora of information in this case. Now, I just wanted to show you, I forgot to show you this the other day, which would be one of the Grizzly sent this to me, the Venmo payments. I should have shown this 2 days ago because we were speculating, did Kaylee actually move in? Because you see, the house was normally a Pi Beta Phi house. And all the girls in the house were from the same sorority that Maddie was from, meaning Maddie, Xana, Bethany, and Dylan. And Bethany was actually, now I'm trying to word it correctly, Maddie's Little Big. You know, when it's like, it's called Little Big. She had it on her Instagram as well. Point is, we were saying, did Kaylee move in there in August? Who was the last one to move in there? Who moved in when, what? But anyway, the Venmo payments do show that it says July 3rd, Kaylee paid Xana Kernodle, Avista, which would be the utilities company. Kaylee paid Xana Kernodle Coffee. Kaylee paid Maddie Mogen, question mark. Someone called Jordan charged Xana Kernodle July Wi-Fi. So they were already there from like June. So August is when all the new recruits are for the sorority houses and the fraternities, which makes sense then that they would maybe then be subletting or moving in a little bit sooner than that. So we're building on the last time we speculated about who's moving in when. So yeah, you can just see, I don't really have to read through all of them, but you can just see more solid proof that they were there at the house earlier. You know, Dylan paying Maddie, Kaylee paying Xana, Xana paying other ones, you know, all of that. Okay, so I hope it makes sense. Let's just see, there's another slide here as well. So if you do want to look at that, now you've seen it here as well. So there were other roommates that were there before. Some of them moved out after they graduated, which would have been after May as well. I believe that would be a graduation time. And so they may have gone back home or whatever. And makes sense then that they moved out of their sororities like Kaylee and then moved into 1122 King. Yeah, big sister in sorority. These Venmos are normal. Looks like exactly. They are normal. There's nothing suspicious about them. We're just looking at the timeline. Remember, 90% of what I show you is not for suspicious. It's just for facts, right? Okay. So, Discord says, why no one keeps their Venmo transactions public is beyond me. I think they all do, right? Okay, so those are all the updates. I just quickly want to see what else I had here for you. Just hold on 1 second. We're just quickly going to check here. And then I'm done. Yeah, there's no more updates on... There aren't more updates on the Moscow PD's page today. This interview, I'm going to link below for you if you haven't seen it yet. We went over it in a previous episode. And then we also have this one, which I would recommend watching with Law and Crime Network, as well as this one with Law and Crime Network if you haven't seen it. So I'm going to link those below for you. I'm not going to play it now because we've already gone over an hour. We don't want to make it too long. So, CSA, do you think it has something to do with a feud of universities? First it was coyotes, and now, I don't know. From the beginning, I said in my gut instinct, I think it's probably some demented stranger, like some, like we looked at Danny Rowling and cases like that. Something like that. Some sort of a peeping Tom stalker. But that's my opinion. I don't know. We don't know. Could be someone they know. Could be someone they don't actually know that actually was just watching them, whoever they may be. We don't know who the target was, what the sequence was. Of course, the blood trail in the house is going to show that as well. Okay. So, yes. Thank you, everyone, for... Isabel says, I'm okay if you go longer. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I try not to make it too long because it's also not nice for replay watchers, and it just makes a ton of work for me to have to make highlights out of everything. So I really appreciate your time here with me today. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do subscribe as the outro plays. Hit that thumbs up, share the video, and I will definitely see you again very soon. I do have my work cut out for me. Believe me, the things that I have that I'm excited to show you, and other cases I'm looking at as well. Yes, so make sure you are subscribed with the bell on so you don't miss out on those. I'll see you very soon. I'm going to literally go right back to work now. Hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you, mods. Thank you to everyone who bought a super sticker, members, patrons, everyone. And if you want to not miss notifications, if you can't figure out why notifications aren't working, join Patreon. The lowest tier is $1, and I now put live stream notifications there as well as a very good backup. It works really well. Okay, everyone, I will see you in the next one. Bye.